Shalom. You reached the Heat Pray channel. My name is Ozzy Nawath. First and foremost, I want to say, call Halagim Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Harakah. Double honors to apostles and elders, 7:13:19, where I learned this truth from and who rule well. Salutations to the Backyard, the elect, the 144,000. That's 12,000 men from each of the 12 tribes of Israel. 12 tribes of Israel consist of you so-called blacks, Latinos, and indigenous of America. 144,000 being the governing body within the one-third. The rest of the one-third comprises of elect men, women, and children. Shalom to you Israelites scattered due to the diaspora and also the triangular trade. So people come looking like many ethnicities, having various complexions, so it's not a black thing. We're not the black Hebrew Israelites. We're just Hebrew Israelites. Shalom to those that die in this truth. It says the dead should be raised up first. Those that will be accompanying Yahweh Shah on his return, including our King, King Marshah, who is King David. And as always, it's an honor and privilege, honor and blessing to continue to do this work. The water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harakah Kwadash for answering my prayers and permitting me to do such. Baba Kashal Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Ba'ashem Harakah Kwadash allowed us to be an edifying lesson to at least one member of the elect. So right now, man, for me, as I'm watching, you know, certain scriptures are really, glowing. And one being is Isaiah chapter 19, verse 14. It says, Yahweh have mingled a perverse spirit, which we can go to Emma Online. Define the word perverse, which is late 14th century, wicked. That's all you need. Close the book. And close the book on that. So a very wicked spirit in the midst thereof, which that midst thereof is dealing with America. So there's a very wicked spirit here. And they have caused Egypt, which is America, because Egypt is just an allegory for the house of bondage, right? I think it's 20. This is Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. It says, And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, which really was the land of Mardazarian or Mizraim, because Egypt is an allegory for the house of bondage. Another word for bondage is slavery. It says out of the house of bondage. So let's go to the thesaurus, not a dinosaur. So bondage, the state of being a slave, the deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt's bondage, the bondage of drug addiction or similar slavery, enslavement, servitude, subjugation. So slavery, right? So going back to Isaiah chapter 19, verse 14, it says, and they have caused America, and these wicked spirits on the left-hand side are being lying spirits into the ears of these damn devils, man. There's a spirit on the cruel Lord Donald J. Trump, right? And as you see on the world stage, it's causing him to err. It says to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. So liken onto a drunk, and let me see, YouTube. Let me see if I can find something that I don't want no heavy clip. Something quick, like a short. Let me see.
Julian! I don't know where I felt like I get a little drink around here, do you, bud? Julian!
You know, and if you're too drunk, man, you might stumble off a cliff or fucking think that you could race across or run across a freeway called the Highway of Hell. Verse 15 says, neither shall there be any work for America which the head, with the CEO or tail, all the way down to the janitor or the, what are they called? The key holder, one that opens the store up, branch or rush may do, right? Um, and that's what we got going on here in America, man, with, as I said, with Donald Trump in office. He's tearing things up, and that's a good thing, man. We're all for it. Hey, make America great again, man. How about that? Because even at the pinnacle of greatness, it's a stain, man. It's a shit clump. It's a shit hill worth of a legacy, man. And Yahweh Shem Yahshua is gonna destroy it. Especially going back into those times, man. Right. But this is from Wall Street Journal. Surprised they ain't charging nobody. It says Trump can't tolerate peace and quiet. It says, afraid of boredom, he compulsively creates drama and hopes his luck and ours will hold out. And you damn devils are living in the past, man. Get over it. It was a long time ago. Ain't that what you tell Jake? Your John Wayne days is over. It says, well, that was an epic climb down. President Trump told Davos this week that he won't move militarily to take over Greenland, which is a lie. People thought I would use force. I won't use force. It was insane that he might, a relief that he won't, and people thought he would only because he'd implied as much repeatedly. His speech to the World Economic Forum marked yet another tear in our old ancestral foundational closeness with Europe. It is captured in this exchange on separate days to the same audience. Let me see. Get to the juices. Just an inside joke. If you ever watched HBO back in the day. It says Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said on Tuesday that traditional U.S. leadership of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization was over. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition, which is all prophetic, going back to Revelation, the 17th chapter, the 15th verse, if I'm not mistaken. It says the middle powers must act together because if it were not at the table were on the menu. He got a standing ovation. The next day, Mr. Trump ad-libbed, Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements. That obviously isn't how friends speak to each other. I continue on last week's thoughts on aspects of Mr. Trump's personal nature that have contributed to the current state of affairs. This week, he put me in mind of a woman I once knew who was always roiled, always creating commotion and drama, quarrels and sudden attachments, fiery endings. I came to think she had a constant storm inside of her. Because of that, she created storms outside, as if to maintain equal barometric pressure. To function, she needed a balance between the forces within the forces without. She had to create trouble to live. Does that remind you of anyone? Mr. Trump has a real fear of boredom, and that's what a lot of these rich people have, man. You know, they're bored with their riches, so they got to try to find the next, you know, thing to get their rocks off, so to speak. Listen, and the next new thing is total control. It says, when there's peace and quiet, he becomes restless, anxious. He seems unable to tolerate normality and shows little faith in quiet progress. Set a good policy in place, tend to it as it settles. So he creates drama, he attacks, arouses counter forces, which goes back to when the morning is light, they practice it. Micah 2. It says, and becomes restless and creates new drama. Lather, rinse, repeat. Life is drama, always has been. It used to be gambling, casinos, and bankruptcy. Now it's Venezuela and Greenland. But it's the same prowling anxiety. And you know, these countries that they're trying to pick on, man, they're just being a bully, which I'm not going to read all of it. But for the most part, the title says it all. You know, Trump can't tolerate peace and quiet, which is Thessalonians chapter 5. And I'm going to start at the top. It says, the day of Yahweh Shai. It says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of Yahweh Shai so cometh as a thief in the night. So that exact day is going to come when people least expect it. You know, it says, for when they shall say peace and safety, and that's what they're screaming right now, is peace and safety. They even have something called a peace board. This is from NBC News. It says, what to know about Trump's board of peace, which countries are involved in cost, and more. President Donald Trump was joined by a small number of world leaders on Thursday as he signed the charter of his Board of Peace, a new body he has built as part of the solution to a series of global conflicts. Major Western allies chose to skip the ceremony on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, with some voicing concerns about the possibility of the body which Trump plans to personally chair replacing the United Nations. Trump, who has previously derided the UN for empty words that don't solve war, said Thursday the two bodies will work alongside each other after suggesting earlier in the week that it might replace it. With many allies absent, Trump was flanked by leaders and representatives from Argentina, Turkey, Hungary, Bulgaria, Bahrain, Kazakhstan, Kosovo, Qatar, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Morocco, Paraguay, Pakistan at the event. Russia and China said they have received invites to the body but have not yet confirmed whether they will join. Israel has backed the body, but Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is subject to an international criminal court arrest warrant, did not attend the Davos summit. What is the Board of Peace? The Board of Peace was first proposed by Trump as an entity that would oversee the next phase of his peace plan for the Gaza Strip, but has since morphed into something with a much broader remit. Last November, the UN Security Council approved the Board of Peace as part of a broader plan, which included the establishment of a security force in Gaza. The current charter for the board, as confirmed by NBC News, makes no direct mention of Gaza and proposes a board mandate for a new international organization that seeks to promote stability, restore dependable and lawful governance, and secure enduring peace in areas affected or threatened by conflict. The charter states that Trump will chair the board and can only be replaced as chairman through voluntary resignation or a result of incapacity, as determined by a unanimous vote of the executive board. It also states that each member state shall serve a term of no more than 3 years, with the exception of those that contribute more than 1 billion. This dude's, I bet he be on the shitter thinking of all this shit, you know. So, this is them saying peace and safety, man. They trying to push that spirit, that what do you call it? I want to say, let me see if I'm saying it right. Or a broadcast program, yeah, a monologue or whatever. They're trying to push this idea, and they're not knowing that it's aligned with prophecy. And we know through prophecy, everyone always hear people quote First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. Peace and safety, then sudden destruction. Right? All while in the background, at any minute now, they could attack Iran, and it's all she wrote. But going back to First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3, it says, For when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. Which, that sounds sort of preemptive. So, key words: peace, Greek, eirene, means false tranquility, imposed calm, political assurance, not true peace from Yahweh. This is state-issued calm before collapse. Safety, Greek, asphalia, means security, stability, guaranteed protection. This is governmental promises, not divine protection. And that's exactly what, that article is going into. Sudden destruction, Greek, aphanedios, olithros, unexpected ruin, calamity, irreversible collapse, which this economy is going to collapse, not gradual, instant judgment. Travail, Greek, Odin, birth pains, contractions, unstoppable, increasing intensity, symbolizes prophetic events that escalate and cannot be reversed, you know, not escape. Greek o me ekphigusin. Absolutely no way out, no deliverance for the wicked, total judgment on the unbelieving world, right? Which, the elect, they got something called plot armor. Get that right, Obama. See, Ezekiel, it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 13, verse 10. It says, even because they have seduced my people, saying peace, and there was no peace, and one built up a wall, and lo, others daubed it with untempered mortar, basically with bullshit, false philosophies and doctrines, false hopes. Going back to AI, break down false prophets, governments, and leaders promise stability. Same spirit today, media, politicians, and global institutions push everything is fine, but the Most High says the opposite, right? And what is the Most High saying right now? To take heed of the microchip and look for the destruction, to save yourself in Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua, by giving diligence to make your calling and election sure, right? Um, and if you're not praying for more diligence and you're not being granted that desire, then something's off. You're getting weaker, something is off. It's, St. Luke chapter 21, verse 34 says, and take heed to yourselves, which, as I always say, heed is to warn, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. And that's the majority of these people out here, man. Their their minds are fixated on the cares of this world, man. Which sometimes you have to remember, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua is not going to give you more than what you can handle. So if something happens to you, then you were built for it. I just wanted to bring out what surfeiting. Surfeiting refers to overindulgence, excess. And, for the most part, you should be living a modest, or you should have been living a modest lifestyle anyway. Nothing of, living the lifestyle of the rich and famous, or, trying to keep up with the Joneses. You were supposed to be living modestly. It says excess feasting, going to these fucking clubs and getting your ass beat at these clubs. Nah, man, that ain't the way. It says the kind of indulgence that numbs awareness. It's the opposite of the alertness he commands in verse 36. I'm going to see something real quick. 30 to 35. So verse 35, it says, for as a snare shall it come on all that dwell on the face of the whole earth, which is a trap. And that trap is dealing with the hour of temptation, man, which is going to affect the whole world. I'm just trying to speed. So I don't want to make this video too long. But breakdown, it says a snare equals a trap you don't see until it's too late. Global judgment hits everyone outside the elect. Matches they cannot or they shall not escape. Matthew chapter 24. Verse 8 says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Right? Sorrows, Odin, same Greek word as travail. Prophetic contractions, wars, famines, plagues, civil unrest. Right? They intensify. They intensify, never decrease, just like labor. Right? Which, despite them thinking that they're going to have peace and safety, there ain't going to be no escape from judgment for the wicked, which is, you Edomites, starting with your rich elite. It says Yahweh's judgment unavoidable. Amos chapter 9, verse 1, I saw Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua standing upon the altar, and he said, smite the lintel of the door that the post may shake, which, this is Yahweh Shai, and cut them in the head, all of them, and I will slay the last of them with the sword. He that fleeth of them shall not flee away, and he that escapeth of them shall not be delivered. Because they're going to try to flee from this destruction. Though they dig into hell, into these deep underground bunkers or military bases, then shall my hand take them. That's when the angels are going to get their ass, man. Though they climb up to heaven, to, their little space stations, and they had one that they were trying to put up there, a future community, I think called Elysium, which that ain't going to never come to pass. But nonetheless, it says, thence will I bring them down. The Most High is going to bring their raggedy ass down, man. It says, and though they hide themselves on the top of Carmel, which is in the high mountains, I will search and take them out thence. And though they be hid from my sight in the in the bottom of the sea, they even have facilities in the ocean, man. It says, thence will I command the serpent, which that serpent is the Leviathan, which is the species of large aquatic creatures. Because, the deeper you go, the bigger things get. It says, and he shall bite them, so that Leviathan is going to fuck them up. And though they go into captivity, which is slavery, before their enemies, thence will I command the sword, and it shall slay them, and I will set my eyes upon them for evil and not for good. So going back to AI, it says no bunker, no military base, no political alliance saves them. The wicked, especially the ruling class, cannot flee judgment. Perfect parallel to they shall not escape. So everything's happening, man. So with that, I hope at least one brother of the elect was edified, and I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, shalom.